on news stories and advertisements and in the drugstore. What is it? It is artificial birth control. As birth control becomes more widespread, the question comes about, should birth control be used in society? As this field is constantly being developed and advertised, it has caused many people who have originally rejected birth control to start to accept it. Today, as the religious wing gains influence and the non-religious is propagandizing the use of contraception with various campaigns, it is constantly coming into question as a moral issue. The main purpose of birth control is to have sexual intercourse without having to take responsibility for pregnancy. The main purpose of birth control is to prevent the sperm from fertilizing the egg, whether that is achieved by preventing the sperm from entering the vagina, by preventing the ovaries from releasing an egg, or by preventing contact between the sperm and the egg within the uterus. The different methods of artificial birth control include condoms, hormone pills, patches, etc., intrauterine devices, and emergency contraceptive pills. These devices target females within the childbearing age, while the only contraception used by men is the male condom. Currently, the number of American couples who have used birth control at least once in their relationship has risen to 99%, including 98% of Catholics. Even though it is becoming even more common, there is a constant heated debate between both supporters and the opposition. Birth control has actually been used ever since ancient times. The first condoms appeared in ancient Greece and Egypt in 1500 BC, and the first hormonal methods started to appear around 1400 BC, including herbs and rituals that were also used. The most recent forms of birth control are pills and intrauterine devices, which have only been developed in the late 1800s. Birth control can definitely be beneficial to society. First of all, the use of birth control also decreases the number of abortions by preventing the egg from being fertilized. It also reduces the risk of an unplanned pregnancy, which can definitely save the taxpayers money. If a woman has an unplanned pregnancy and they are below the poverty line, programs end up having to support that abortion or unplanned child. This money comes from the taxpayers. Because birth control allows a woman to control when they want to get pregnant, it allows her to know when to start prenatal care, and the fetus is less likely to come into contact with harmful substances. It also saves the family much money overall, because birth control is much less expensive than both parents having to care for an unplanned child for 18 months, which is $30 versus $1,120 a month. I'll let you know that birth control can also be bad. First of all, it's unnatural because it interferes with the natural consequence of sexual intercourse, which is conception. Also, most birth control methods are not 100% proven. For example, condoms only work 83% of the time. Pills and hormonal methods prevent an egg from being released, which interferes with the menstrual cycle, which leads to unhealthy consequences for the woman. A study by Royal College also suggests that women who use birth control are 2.6 times more likely to commit suicide, be diagnosed with mental illness, or file for a divorce. Emergency contraception can also be seen as a form of abortion because it stops the development of a new life. Another argument against birth control is that it leads to people being more sexually active, even to sex outside of marriage, because it almost eliminates the risky consequences of their decisions. Even though 98% of Catholics have once used it, the Catholic Church, as always, condemns the use of contraception for multiple reasons. It says that it goes against natural law by interfering with intercourse's purpose, procreation, and strengthening the bond and love between the husband and wife, which is the setting meant to raise children. It also goes against Scripture with the story of Onan in Genesis 38:10, when every time he had intercourse with his brother's wife in order to create children for him, he spilled semen on the ground, and what he did greatly offended the Lord, and the Lord took his life. The Humanae Vitae says that the direct interruption of the generative process are to be excluded as listed means for regulating birth. Similarly as any action with either an anticipation of the conjugal act or in its accomplishment, or the development of its natural consequences, purposes, whether as an end or as means to render procreation impossible. This is restated in the Catechism. Pope Paul VI also warned that it is also to be feared that a man growing used to the employment of anti-contraceptive devices may finally lose respect for the woman and may come to the point of considering her as a mere instrument of selfish enjoyment and no longer as his respected and beloved companion. This has been reaffirmed as infallible doctrine in 1997 when the Church said contraception is contrary to the good of the transmission of life and the reciprocal self-giving of the spouses. It harms the true love and denies the sovereign rule of God in the transmission of human life.